All right, today we're tackling a really big idea, a fundamental rule of nature, actually. It's all about how simple things, like food and water, can literally decide the fate of an entire population. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, so take a look at these two, a butterfly and a giant orangutan. I mean, what could they possibly have in common, right? It sounds like a riddle. But stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see they share a story that's not only surprisingly similar, but also really important.
So to start cracking this puzzle, we've got to go deep into the rainforests of Borneo. This is where scientists are seeing a huge problem unfold.
See, the orangutan's world is changing, and it's changing fast. We're talking about massive areas of rainforest, the very place they find the fruit trees they need to survive, being completely cleared out. And what's replacing them? These enormous oil palm plantations.
And the effect of this? Well, it's immediate and it's devastating. You take away the fruit trees, you take away the orangutan's main food source. It's that simple. And when there's less food to go around, the population, well, it's got nowhere to go but down. This gives us a super clear but really powerful model of cause and effect. Fewer fruit trees means fewer orangutans. It's a direct link, you can't really argue with it.
Okay, so here's the big question. Is this just about orangutans? Is this a one-off thing? Or have we just stumbled onto something much bigger, a pattern that shows up all over nature? So let's test that idea, right? Is this super tight connection between an animal and its main resource something we see somewhere else, with other animals in totally different places?
Think about the giant panda. It's a perfect example. Their diet is pretty much all bamboo. So, what happens when people clear out bamboo forests for farms? The pandas face the exact same problem. Or how about the Louisiana black bear? Its survival is tied right to the forests, for food, for shelter, and if you look back in history, when those forests were cut down, the bear population, it totally tanked.
And hey, it's not just about plants. Take the kit fox. It depends on small rodents to eat. So if the rodent population drops for some reason, what do you think happens to the fox population? It follows right behind. We can't deny it. There's a pattern here.
Okay, so all these examples are pointing to something big. They're helping us build a kind of universal rule, one that we can use to understand pretty much any ecosystem on the planet.
The pattern is just crystal clear. It doesn't matter if we're talking about an ape in the rainforest, a panda eating bamboo, or a fox out in the desert. We're seeing the exact same fundamental relationship.
And you know what? This is basically how science works. You start with one specific thing you notice, like, hey, orangutans need fruit trees, and then you test that idea against other examples. And if it holds up, you can build a general rule. In this case, any organism's population is totally tied to its resources.
And that brings us to the absolute key principle here. In the world of ecology, these resources are called limiting factors. It's a simple idea, really. The growth of any organism and its whole population is always limited by how much of that key resource is available.
So now we've got this awesome scientific tool, right? This universal rule. So let's use it. Let's go back and finally solve that mystery from the beginning.
Remember our butterfly? Let's take another look. But this time, we have our new rule. We can actually look at this problem like scientists now.
And look at this comparison. It's just perfect. Yeah, the details are different, an orangutan versus a butterfly, rainforest trees versus milkweed, but the core pattern, the what happens next, it's identical. The population goes down. Okay, so for the monarch butterfly, here's the crucial detail. It relies on one specific plant. The female monarch will only lay her eggs on the milkweed plant. That's it. It's the only thing the caterpillars can eat. So what happens when we turn native prairies into farmland? The milkweed disappears.
And there it is. Mystery solved. The one surprising thing that a tiny monarch butterfly and a huge rainforest orangutan have in common is this. The fate of their entire species is tied to one critical resource, and that resource is disappearing.
So this is more than just a cool biology fact, right? Understanding this rule has huge implications for how we look at the entire planet and, our role in it.
So let's break down the key takeaways. First, every single organism depends on its environment. Second, they're all competing for resources that are limited. This means populations can only get so big. They're capped by whatever is available. And maybe most importantly, if you make a big, sudden change to those resources, you can get really unstable, even devastating changes in the population.
And that leaves us with one last pretty big question to think about. We've seen how this unbreakable rule works for orangutans, butterflies, and bears. So, if every population is tied to its resources, what does that mean for us, for our own future on this planet?